September 25. Happy to have you here. Hi. Grab a coffee and let's talk about a realistic utopia of a fair society. First though, Monday night was marvelous. The reading by Deborah Harkness, the questioning, the book signing afterwards, the personal conversations, everything. But in true autistic fashion, all these sensory input, including that I had to run for 2 miles to get there in time because the train, my connecting train, wasn't running. I just crashed yesterday. I was so bone tired, I couldn't really move, let alone think. Well, I did think, but I couldn't really move. So I wouldn't change anything because it was so marvelous, but you get me back with a day delay. Anyway, you got me back, so let's talk Rawls. Rawls rejected any notion that the freedom of exchange is on par with or should even take priority over personal freedom and political equality. And I went through his arguments yesterday as to why, or not yesterday, on Monday, in that last post. If you haven't read it, go back there. It's in my profile, where I also previewed 2 discussions I wanted to add at this point. One was about the definition of personal property that Rawls acknowledged possessed the status of a basic right. He defines personal property very narrowly, though, as a right to own personal possessions and to have control over one's living space. It's all about daily life. It's not about making money with property. I here want to go deeper into what we are talking about when we speak about property. It's very important because it's part of a data set we all use to self-generate the model of a world in our minds. And maybe, just maybe, it would be interesting to know what it is actually what we are using there and how we might be able to change it to get to a fairer society. The whole period of European conquest hinged on the idea of property. Colonial appropriation of indigenous land often began with some blanket assertion that foraging people were living in a state of nature, which meant that they were seen to be part of the land, but had no legal claims to own it. The entire basis for dispossession, in turn, was premised on the idea that the current inhabitants of those lands weren't really working. The argument goes back to Locke's Second Treatise of Government for 1690, in which he argues that property rights are necessarily derived from labor. Yes, I know what you are not now thinking about all these billionaires and their properties and how they labor all the day. In working the land, one mixes one's labor with it. In this way, it becomes, in a sense, an extension of oneself. If you simply made use of a land to satisfy your basic needs with a minimum of effort, you're not an improving landlord, and therefore no owner. Yes, I know. That's where the stereotype of a carefree, lazy native coasting through a life free of material ambitions started. But, as indigenous legal scholars have been pointing out for years, the agricultural argument makes no sense even on its own terms. There are many ways, other than European-style farming, in which to care for and improve the productivity of land. There are other ways that are even better than European-style farming, like terracing or building aggregation systems that fit the natural landscape, whatever. And it's not the case that you can only recognize private property law rights in the sense of a Roman law, the basis of almost all legal systems today, or you don't recognize them at all. There are different conceptions of property. I would even argue that we should abandon the Roman law conception. What makes it unique is that the responsibility to care and share is reduced to a minimum or even eliminated entirely. In Roman law, there are 3 basic rights relating to proper possession. Ius usus, the right to use. Ius fructus, the right to enjoy the products of a property, for instance, the fruit of a tree. And ius abusus, the right to damage or destroy. If one has only the first 2 rights, this is referred to as usufruct and is not considered a true possession under the law. You're renting or leasing from the true owner, with whom remains the defining feature of true legal property, the right to not take care of it or even destroying it at will. You can see the results play out strikingly today where it comes to shareholder-owned companies, and particularly when the shareholders are investment funds, so no real people themselves, but it's worse. It's bad enough with just human shareholders. They are paid out dividends, which they expect, of course, what else? To constantly rise, even when it means the company is eroded, so that they are paid their dividends. In no way are they required to invest and take care, even when the company is about to collapse, but it is their right according to our understanding of property, a part of a dataset our societies use to align the self-generated models of the world in their members' minds to destroy what they own. So, if you as society want to keep it, then you better pay, because I have a right to destroy it. I just get money out of it. That's all it is. And if I destroy it, well, that's my right. That's the defining feature. And not just that, it is the defining feature of the concept of property that is ubiquitous. Destroying. The defining feature of property today is that you are allowed to destroy it. So contrary to what Locke argued, property in our understanding and actions is not about improving and caring. It is about squeezing it for whatever it's worth for individual consumption and then abandoning the worthless dead carcass. It's about destruction. And that alone means property, as understood like this, can't be a basic right. Because, as we have seen, a basic right is always a right given to the individual, but belonging to the collective, that can be reformulated as a responsibility or an obligation each member of society has in regard to any other member without losing their universal correctness. A right to destruction, to enrich the individual, doesn't fit this criteria, because it can't be fully formulated into a responsibility. You don't have any responsibility when you have the right to destroy it. It's also why just shifting the property rights on the tools of production simply to another group doesn't work. Nor turning private property into public property. Property still would be something you don't care for, but that exists to be destroyed through use. It's all about the conception of property itself. It's all about the mindset that goes into our own world generation processes. And hence, this also means that private property could become part of the basic rights when we redefine the conception of property, when we would rewrite the dataset all members of a group use in their individually generated models of a world to make custodianship the defining feature of property, the same way virtually everyone else in the world did in one way or another before the European conquest. Owning something meant, and should mean again that we first and foremost have an obligation to take care of it and leave it in a better shape than how we got it in the first place. Any thoughts? Oh, tell me. Tell all. That's what it is all about. This is our society. This is our creation. This is our data set we are using in our minds or not using. So tell me. You can watch me tonight in a TikTok live while I'm preparing our dinner. It's Indian curry chicken night. And I will talk fair society there too. What I've talked here today with a little bit more flowers around it. And if that's not your thing, I will be back tomorrow talking about the second theme I brought up. What I just lost from my mind. So I see you anyway at some time. Tonight, tomorrow, whenever. Until then, bye.